Good morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Well, each Wednesday morning, 08:15 to 0900 hours, we come over and regale both of you listeners out there. Those down in Williamsville, come on in to Logan County and spend your money.
Please.
We always try to start kudo with a Viewpoint with a kudo or two, and today I want to get serious for a minute. Integrity data. I want to restate that so I pronounce it correctly. The Doolin family came in here, and several years ago now, and the first thing they did was they rescued this grand old architectural gem, the Scully building, by spending a considerable amount of money, making sure they're waterproof it and so forth. That's just a side issue of my kudos this morning. The family has involved themselves in helping in the community, and now they have some extra scholarship money and so forth that they're making available. So kudos to the Doolin family and Integrity Data. Another one of the firms who put something back on the bar besides their elbow.
Yeah, there you go. And welcome them. We all do.
Yeah. So let's get right down to serious business, because we have another charity that we wanted to kind of blow some smoke for this morning.
Really? Yes. Uh-huh.
Lots of smoke.
Well, it's a new month, and we're headed toward the holidays, which is the time that we all think about the Salvation Army. But the truth of the matter is that they're here 365 days a year, not just for Christmas, and they're busy, and they're serving the community, and they feel a real need, and they're peopled in good part by volunteers. And one of our guests this morning, Pam Pollard, started out as a volunteer, she said, and it's such a worthy place. I'm sure you're glad to be even more involved with them, Pam.
Yes, all the people there are so nice and so caring, and we do provide a lot of services to people. So
you're going to have to speak
Pull that
up.
microphone
You're a soft-spoken girl. You're not a loudmouth like me.
Just swallow that mic. You know, Jim, if you consider a raise for Judy, she's doing pretty well for an older woman. So, Pam, we're happy to have you with us this morning.
Well, yes, and with her is Rachel Oney, and she's the director at the local Salvation Army. So let's talk about all the services that you offer, more than Christmas time. Although this is a busy season for you as far as your fundraising, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
and fundraising is vital to you, because Salvation Army folks does a lot of good things in our community, many of which we have no knowledge of at all.
They work quietly.
Most of it, we think of the little lady with the little black hat and standing on the street corner with a trumpet or a drum on Christmas time, standing next to Krisky's dime store and putting their hearts out trying to get $5 or $10 for the whole day. I have great respect for the Salvation Army. They do a lot of good here in this community. Without them, a lot of people would be on the streets. So, Rachel, thank you for serving as the Salvation Army. I was kind of facetious there, remarking about the old days when they used to appear at Christmas time. 2 or 3 of them standing on Krisky's corner, playing songs with a bucket for somebody to drop a couple of bucks in. And my guess is at the end of the day, if they had $10, it was probably a pretty good day. So the Salvation Army down through the years has done a tremendous amount of good for us. So you want to pick it up from there, Rachel, wherever you'd like to start.
Sure thing. We do quite a lot of services, so you might have to stop me because I
When we run out of time.
The biggest thing that we have right now is our bell ringing season, which, like you said, it isn't just Christmas that we're out there for. We are bell ringing for the entire season. So everything that goes into those kettles keeps our building open, keeps staff, volunteers, and all of our programs running. So it's very vital that we have a good bell ringing season. Right now, it's going to be a little bit difficult this year with IGA not being open. They've been one of our greatest partners in town.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully they open in December. That's what we're hoping for, but they might not be open till January. So we'll see as the time goes.
You know, as you visit with people, isn't it interesting to see how interconnected everything in your society is?
Yeah.
You know, here we have IGA who, through no fault of their own, aren't able to be open.
Yeah.
And you're dependent upon them. And the people that you serve are dependent upon you. It just goes on and on, doesn't it?
It sure does.
It sure does. What seems to be at this time, other than COVID, what seems to be the greatest problem that faces people in this area?
Ooh, geez, that's a big question. Probably finding, maintaining employment, and
Okay.
The other thing would be housing.
Housing. Is that right?
I expect that's a very difficult thing.
Housing, some of it is because of COVID, with the backed up landlords not being able to let some people go and have new tenants come in.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of closed the market on who can leave their previous place and who can come back in, whether it be due to cleaning, getting new people in and ready to go, but many people are struggling with making rent payments, getting in the door, just starting out again. Because when you're restarting, then you have to not only pay your deposit, but also the first month's rent. And that's always a huge...
That's a big piece of change there.
You know, speaking of charities, our church has stepped to the forefront with their food banks. Namely, one that comes first to mind would be Holy Family, and they do a tremendous job there on the corner of 5th and Clinton, or wherever you want to. I'm not sure exactly where that is, but it's right next to the church, and you know, our friend Carolyn Webster does a yeoman's job in helping that, and she has a number of volunteers. They do a tremendous amount of good. So this can be a generous community, and we want to remind people of that. Do you have much of a need or many requests for grocery help, Rachel?
We do. We do have our own food pantry as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we most recently just gave out 100 bags of food pantry at the Faith Assembly Trail of Treats for Halloween. So sometimes we like to partner with the different churches in the community when they are holding events and see what we can also offer alongside what the church is doing.
Well, the need for help on the part of some people is just a forever thing, and I'm sure that partnershiping with others is a big help to all of you.
Oh, for sure. And we never want to duplicate anything that someone else is already doing, but we want to add to whatever may be missing at a different event. So if we can help out in any way that we can, that's what we want to do.
Well, you know, there are multitudes of charities out there, some of which I'm really strong on helping. For instance, Wounded Warriors or Tunnels to Towers, that veteran-connected charity. But the bottom line is, on this charity business, we cannot do all of them. So we have to pick and choose. And if I were to make an urging comment, I would say go to the local charities first, because that's in our backyard. And that brings up, of course, Salvation Army. So I would urge you folks, as you're going into the Christmas season and thinking you get these letters all the time, every day, or phone calls about 10 o'clock at night, looking for money. Those, of course, they don't get any time of day from most houses, but giving is a nice experience. And for instance, Moms Who Care, 2 teachers who are doing a tremendous amount of good, getting school supplies and clothing for kids that don't step up to the plate. Parents can't step up to the plate. So let's remember the Salvation Army, folks, as you think about your various charities. Go right ahead, Mrs. Busby.
Well, they've
Monopolizing the microphone.
they've always said about the Salvation Army that they get the most bang for the buck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that that's true. Don't you kind of pride yourselves on that, of watching your budget all the time and
Oh,
still
yes.
helping as many people as you can?
We count every penny.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Yes.
and
As
some.
many hours as we can get into one day, we will make that into twice the amount of work.
It
Mrs.
becomes
Pollard?
a lifestyle for you, doesn't it? Really?
Yes, it really does. I
You
mean,
didn't realize that when you were a young person just starting out in your employment, did you?
No.
no, and I didn't know that I would like Christmas time as much as I do, and I didn't know that it was 2 months long instead of just one day.
Oh, you got fooled, huh?
Mrs. Pollard, how long have you been with the Salvation Army, my dear?
I've been with them about 2 years, about 1 year volunteering and 1 year employed.
How did you decide to become a volunteer, Pam?
I was actually asked by William Dolan, who is also an employee of the Salvation Army, because I knew him from WLLM days, the radio station, the Christian radio station here in town. And we worked together there, so he asked me to start volunteering, and I did, and enjoyed it.
And so you stayed on, and now you're an employee.
Right.
And how do you like that?
I enjoy it. I feel like, they, like you say, they do a lot of good, and it's very satisfying.
You find it rewarding then,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Does that happen across the board in other facilities as well, that someone would start out volunteering and become so involved emotionally in it that they'll stay on?
Well, that's the hope when we have volunteers, and any time that we get more finances in, the more people that we have helping, whether it's volunteer or staff, then that means the more we can serve the community. And if we know you're already a committed volunteer, then it's really easy to want to hire you on, so that we keep the volunteers that are doing all the hard work.
Yes, well, and they know the need is great, so they'll be dedicated workers, won't
Right.
they? Yeah, that matters too.
Rachel, let's talk about housing just a minute. You have some, I think I use the word temporary housing facilities for folks who are in deep in need.
Male veterans. So
Male veterans.
There's a program called Grant Per Diem, and we currently, the Salvation Army has 4 locations throughout the central Illinois. Lincoln is one. Champaign, Bloomington, and Pekin are the other 3 locations. And between all of us, we house some of the other facilities. We do have a women's facility as well, but then I believe there's 3 single male facilities where any homeless veteran can be housed temporarily. It's a 90-day program. At least we try and keep it to 90 days, unless the housing market is hard for somebody to get into. As long as we know that veteran is continually working to find housing, we'll allow them an extension to stay on. But yeah, it's kind of a rapid rehousing. We work really closely with the VA and our supportive services for veterans and their families program as well. We all kind of come together and between the different programs do our best to find local housing and bring them back to whichever community they came from. And some people want, instead of staying in a larger city, do want to stay in Lincoln instead.
Now, is that business of housing one of the major needs in central Illinois, would you say?
I would say so. One of the partners that we at the Salvation Army have, I don't know if you've heard of the Civic Center. It's a newer organization. They're the Central Illinois Veterans Commission, but we are partners with them, and they are the ones that just built that first small home on 6th and College.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know, we're giving here a blatant commercial, and I don't mind that at all, for the Salvation Army, which reminds me, however, Mrs. Busby, that sometimes you and I forget that we have sponsors. So we'll take a few minutes' time and go to our sponsors this morning. But right back live in the studio this morning. The program, of course, is Viewpoint, appearing each Wednesday morning at 08:15 to 0900 hours. Our guests this morning, Rachel Owens and Pam Pollard, representing one of the best charities you can find in the face of the earth, Salvation Army. Local money being spent here locally. Those of us who have a little more luck don't understand that there's a lot of need out there. And unless you've been on that side of the equation, you never will understand that. So, again, I mentioned to you, we have so many ways to give money to various charity organizations, but I suggest to you that the best effort you can find would be your money locally right here. I was going to ask Mrs. Owen about you have veterans. Say the expression again. You have rooms for veterans, but there's an expression that I didn't pick up on.
Oh, we can always do more when we have more volunteers. The more volunteers, the more we can do.
Well, that
Now,
ties into what I was going to ask about serving the veterans meals.
Yes.
And you could do that if you had sufficient volunteers.
Correct. We do have a kitchen, and we have plenty of food from our food pantry that we can utilize. But if we only are able to serve warm meals when we have our facility open for warming centers when the weather is extra cold.
Well, today's a good day.
We're approaching that. We're approaching that right now.
We are.
And we have to remember that, folks. If you have no roof over your head, this weather we're starting to experience gets a little nasty. Thank goodness there's a place where they can at least warm up for a little while.
Right.
And there's another thing, there's the social end of it. People get lonely. And I suspect that you have some guests that would like to talk a little bit because they haven't had the opportunity to interact with anybody.
Very much so.
And that's an important thing.
One of your programs that's new is to adopt a family. What would that involve?
It's very similar to the Angel Tree program. And Salvation Army calls it Adopt a Family, but we use Angel Tree. So far, we've opened it up besides just families to also adopting a veteran. So the veterans who stay with us normally get adopted by one of the groups, whether it's the Lincoln Women's Club or in Atlanta. We do have people who come out during Christmas time to get different things for the veterans and do stockings and things like that.
What a good idea that is to utilize service organizations and so forth as the adoptors. How'd you ever come up with that? By golly. That's good.
Mrs. Pollard, again, I'm going to ask a question we asked earlier, and I guess when you're 98, you can kind of forget some of these things. How long did you say you've been with the Salvation Army, my dear?
It's been about a couple of years.
I suspect that's been an interesting 2 years for you.
Yes, it has. Like you said, if you've been blessed all your life to never need things, and then you see...
We don't think about other people's needs.
Right. You don't realize how much need there might be in a community.
This was an eye-opener for you then.
It was.
Is that what got you hooked, as it were, as a volunteer, so that you'd become a regular employee?
Yeah, I would say that was it.
And you deal with emergency services. Is that any kind of emergency? I need a home, or I need food, or I need a job, or whatever.
Right. My day-to-day duties usually include helping with our ordinary services, like helping with utilities and rent and the food pantry, and as well as if we would have emergency, might go to them and help them out.
I suppose there's always an emergency of one sort or another, isn't there?
Even if you cut your finger.
Yeah. When emergency also includes our disaster services. So
And that's a big item.
it is.
For instance, if there's God forbid, a fire where somebody loses everything, suddenly you're scrambling around trying to find clothing, first thing you got to do is get a roof over their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And is there some kind of contingency fund available that you can put them up in a motel somewhere for a few days or a week or?
Yeah, we usually start off with a couple of days at a time until we know that their insurance has kicked in. We have separate funds specifically for disaster relief. So that doesn't pull from our regular budget. There's a separate disaster funds that we're allowed to tap into. And we are able to offer cash assistance directly to those who are in need. And like you said, you don't know what that person may need. They've probably lost all their clothing, their food, and down to hygiene items. And when you lost everything and you're scrambling to find things, you might need that quick cash assistance right away to be able to get all those essential items.
We had a house fire once, and that wasn't pretty. That's and there you are, and your things aren't there. You know, it's emotionally it's hard enough, but then you have to deal with the fact that, like you say, you've still got to have clothes and food.
Correct.
Mrs. Pollard, is there one thing that you have discovered that may have been a surprise to you as you've come aboard to work with the Salvation Army?
Well, I think like the need for housing, like Rachel said earlier, is such a big thing, and even just the need for food. And because I just always assumed, there's food stamps and there's food pantries and things, but there's always still a need for food, and it's just the general need.
And all those needs are 365 days a year, not just December 25th, right?
Right.
But this is the season, now that we're into the month of November, whereby we're so aware of the Salvation Army. And I think that's thanks to whoever invented the idea of the bell ringer with the red kettle.
That would be General Evangeline Booth, perhaps. I don't know what the history of that is,
Yeah,
but
William
that's
Booth.
it's.
Going out there with donuts.
Donuts, well, by golly, if you were hungry, you'd be darn glad to have a donut, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to figure out whence cometh your daily flow of cash. You have daily needs there. Do you get checks stumble in periodically, or is there a cycle?
Yeah, we periodically will get checks sent in to us. We also have, right now we have our online giving open. You can donate through, if you go onto our Facebook page, we've got a link on there. We can do virtual kettles that way. So if you want to ring with a group, but you can't make it to stand outside for that long in the cold, we're able to sign up under the Lincoln page and share that with your family and friends and donate that way, and you can see it kind of in a live fashion, how much you're bringing in.
That's another volunteer service that could be rendered to the Salvation Army without writing a check. You have annual needs for volunteers with the time you put the kettles out. Now, when will you start putting those kettles out?
Well, the kettles are out starting on Monday, so they've
Okay.
already been out. We've got 2 locations right now at Walgreens and at Big R.
Mm-hmm.
Big R is our only indoor location. Everywhere else we have to
Well,
stand
bless
outside.
their hearts.
Yeah, it's
I
a little
can tell
bit
you-
warmer over
I
there.
can tell you from experience, standing out there ringing those bells is a cold item. But that's a need. You have somebody, a daily need for somebody to staff those kettles. So
Yes.
I might suggest to somebody out there, take some time away from Old Joe's and go out there and there's a commercial for Old Joe's. Seriously, give of your time, and you may be a little colder, but you'll be a lot happier for it.
You betcha. I think we just briefly brushed over the top of the Adopt a Family program, which is new for you. Isn't that true?
No, we've always done Adopt a Family.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what that involves.
So there is a small application to fill out, but we normally serve families with children who are age 14 and under, and they will fill out their age, gender, a couple of needs that they have, coats and clothing type things, but then also maybe their favorite, a couple of toys that they would like. And those things we give out to different churches in town, as well as Integrity Data is one of our big supporters. And we also have that separately for the veterans in our facility, and then also we've opened that up to needy veterans in the community. Because I don't like saying needy all the time, but there is a lack sometimes. I think that people don't always know that the services that we offer affect everyone and not just the civilian population, but also our veterans. I think that's sometimes a hidden thing, because it may be hard for a veteran to come forward and say that they do require that assistance.
Well, I'm sure that that's hard for anybody. I can't imagine the good heart it takes to greet somebody, to be able to offer them the help that they desperately need. And here they are wishing that they weren't there. That's got to be a hard confrontation.
Yeah, it can be. There's a lot of people don't necessarily want to accept some of that assistance. But normally I try and tell people we're here for a reason. If you have that need, then we have an abundance to give you. So please take what we have, because if you're not going to take it, then it's going to sit and go to waste on our shelf.
Well, and that's true too. People have come forward to give you things that are there for somebody's help. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be used.
Yes.
I'm not sure our phone service is fixed. Mr. Ash is indicating that it is. 648-5510. Our guest this morning, Rachel Owens and Pam Pollard. We're huckstering this morning and huckstering hard, if I may add that, for help for the Salvation Army. One of the best places you can put your social money. So 648, you might have a question or a comment. These are very nice young ladies, so be very nice to them. It's the holiday season,
Are there special needs for volunteers during the holiday season? Do you need some extra hands?
Yes. The biggest thing would be for bell ringing. We always need
For
more.
what was that now?
For bell ringing.
Oh, okay.
We do always need more people to stand out and ring or to donate financially. We do need some help with sometimes collecting kettles, making sure that they're being brought back to the facility and switched out on time. Every time there's a new group or a new person, we want to make sure we calculate those totals separately so everyone knows what they rang. It's always fun to see, well, how much did our group contribute to the overall effort.
By golly, I'll go ring the bell for you.
Well, thank you.
I'll take a shift.
We do also have, sometimes we need help with Adopt a Family with wrapping presents, putting them together, sorting through those things. We also have our general food pantry needs, just sending those out, putting food together. We try and do Thanksgiving and Christmas baskets. Normally, we also hand out our vouchers through this time.
Now, how does the basket business work? Is that all new people, or is it people who've been on the rolls, as it were, at the Salvation Army? Can people apply now for a food basket?
They can. The food basket is more so for the Christmas time, because that includes voucher normally to IGA. So they may just be delayed getting to them this year.
Yeah.
But we normally give out varying finance amounts to the household size or the family, but that anybody can come in and request those. Right now we're taking dumb people's names and numbers to be able to call them back. It's kind of a first come first serve basis when they request that need, and once we know we've reached our limit on the finance end, then we'll have to cut that off.
Sure.
But we'll return people's calls once we know that they're open again, because we like to, again, keep those things local and support those businesses.
Your support at Christmas time has always been pretty good in this area, hasn't it?
It's been fairly good. Last year was really hard because of the pandemic.
Yes.
We were probably 12,000 shy of our goal.
That's pretty shy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We felt it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet.
But we're still here and hoping to do better this year. We are trying to do more with our online giving, so that way, again, we're trying to reach those people who weren't able to come out. Walmart's been a fairly big supporter this year, and we're hoping to have both doors open. Last year we were only able to operate out of the one. Walmart's been able to help us do they do a Stuff the Bus campaign, and even the local churches have helped out through their school supply drive, as well as United Way, donating those kinds of things to us. But we are going to need help even collecting at Walmart the gifts that they sometimes let us collect at Walmart for the Angel Tree program.
Doesn't that just make you feel good about your community?
Yeah.
When the community steps up to support the Salvation Army?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And nobody ever questions the use of gifts and services from the Salvation Army, because they're a straight-up outfit. They've been around since Hector was a pup, and just doing good things for people.
You mentioned the Veteran Services Offices. My friend Joe Shaler was responsible for, some time ago now, getting the Veterans Commission office opened up there on, whatever street that is, McLean. Thank you very much, Mr. Ash. I knew we kept
You
him
can
around.
see their building from our parking lot.
Yes, that's right. I know we kept Jim around for some reason, besides pushing buttons. Seriously, do you have much of a request? I almost said demand, and that was a wrong phraseology. For help for veterans, Rachel?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for veterans. I feel like we have a really good relationship with the
Mr. Benedict
VAC.
and the Veterans Commission office. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal to have that office open.
Oh, it is, yeah. We're able to send people or directly to them, whether or not they know Lincoln or not. Mm-hmm. I can always just point to the building and they know where to go. Mm-hmm. But also, Dan Benedict's been helpful with being able to answer questions via email. And Joe's always been helpful. They've got teams who, if they know that we have a veteran who needs a wheelchair or a walker, they're able to bring those to us as well, because they take those kinds of donations at different times. So I know that they have plenty of those to offer us. We haven't had a need like that they haven't been able to meet, which is
It only
nice.
makes sense that the service organizations would rely on one another for help, because today you may need help, but tomorrow they may need help.
Exactly.
So,
Mrs. Pollard, in your position as a volunteer, do you see people who get direct relationship with people who walk in asking for some help?
Yes, we have a lot of people walking in asking for our different assistance programs. Like I said before, utilities.
my goodness, you had the quietest voice. Please speak up.
Yeah, when we ask for Mrs. Pollard to have a comment, turn up your volume real quickly. Well, we appreciate your being with us, Pam, because Lord knows, I keep saying almost ad nausea that there's so much need out there that those of us who go about our daily lives don't understand or have no cognizance of whatsoever. And so you're on the firing line at the Salvation Army, and so therefore you have more direct knowledge of the needs that are out there.
I'd like, in this last couple minutes that we've got left here, if you'd go over the schedules for bell ringers, the places where the bell ringers will be, and a little bit about scheduling, so that people who are willing to step up to the plate will know whether they want to bring a donation to the kettle or they want to ring the bell for the kettle. how they can get a hold of you and how they can sign up, what the schedules are.
And we remind them as you answer that question that they don't need the noise when those coins go in the scale. Drop that paper money in there.
Yes. We do always appreciate paper money. Any amount it adds up. So we will take any donation.
Bless you.
You can sign up if you like to do things online. We have registertoring.com. You can sign up that way, create an account and log in. If you don't like doing things online, you can give us a call at 217-732-7890. We'll be able to take your information over the phone and sign you up in person or over the phone. We have, like I said, 2 locations right now, just Walgreens and Big R. And we are open to bell ring Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. At Walgreens. I believe Big R, we stop at 6 o'clock. And we will start being able to ring at Walmart in this after Thanksgiving is when we start with them.
And Thanksgiving will be here before you know it.
Oh yeah, it always comes fast.
You know, dear, you mentioned IGA and a loss of income because of the situation there. And I only comment because that dude that created that problem not only affected Charlie and his family, and by the way, they were always very good about contributing to their community, the IGA, but look at all the people that have been affected by that one person. It's kind of staggering if you stop and think about that for just a little bit. And so it wasn't just the ownership of IGA, it was the community in its entirety, because IGA is a community-minded store.
Yeah. And
besides being a doggone good grocery store.
They're open to all sorts of people throughout the summer that weren't able to hold their ribeye and pork chop sale, or for fundraisers as well.
Yes.
They do a lot for giving back to the community.
Now, is there an extra need for volunteers other than bell ringers, which we've covered? Is there an extra need during the holidays?
Well, we would always appreciate, like we mentioned before, a cook to come in. That would be wonderful to be able to provide that not only to the veterans but to the rest of the community if somebody were to walk in, and during the cold months especially, to have some more meal as they come in, whether it's just soup or even just a friendly face and someone, like you said, to be able to talk to. Mm-hmm. We are always open to having people come in and offer different kinds of how-to classes. Whether it's, again, for the veterans or other clients. So if they have a skill that they want to share, whether it be crocheting or building or making something, or even different kinds of cooking classes, learning how to use the food in our food pantry into making meals, anything that you might have a need for, or even if you want to hold different kinds of Bible studies, we're open to letting people come in and host that in our facility.
Well, that was begun as a faith-based organization and still holds to that, don't they?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
We slowed down on that portion a little bit because we weren't able to have our doors fully open during the pandemic, but we're hoping with the new procedures that we have in place and more cleaning that we can have people still coming into the building.
Yeah.
Right ahead.
Oh, and you want me to go clean? I know how.
We don't allow dead mics.
I thank you so much for being with us. Give your email address so that people can send donations if that's the way they choose to do it, and your address and phone number again so that people can get a hold of you to volunteer.
Our physical address is 307 North Kickapoo Street here in Lincoln, Illinois. We also have the online portion at registertoring.com. Our phone
Let's
number...
spell that out again, please. May I have it? Register to ring, like cash register.
Yes.
Registertoring.com.
Yes, and the word 2, not the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
registered2ring.com. Our phone number is 217-732-7890. If you have any other questions, you can reach me at Rachel, R-A-C-H-E-L, .Oney, O-N as in Nancy, E as in elephant, Y, at U-S as in Sam, C as in cat, .salvationarmy.org.
Now there's a place. Now, I was going to say, did you want to repeat that? Mrs. Pollard, what's been the one thing that you have taken away from your volunteership with Salvation Army?
I would say being part of a team that is concerned about people and providing services to people would be the most important thing I would take away from it.
That makes life more fulfilling, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Well, thank you so much.
I've gone through my father. I've gone through this mantra and this expression about baseball. Don't go through life with the catcher's mitt on both hands.
No.
Throw something back. So those of us who love our community should practice that throwing something back. By the way, just a quick, if I may digress, just 30 seconds. The Zana Club is having their full Thanksgiving dinner. That means you're trying to raise money, folks, and some of that money will go to the Salvation Army. So to help the Zana Club, drop an envelope at your local bank, State Bank in particular, marked Zana dinner, and that money will go to the Zana Club, and so I'm happy to mention that. Would you like to sum up, Mrs. Owens, with a comment or two regarding your work at Salvation Army?
Well, the phrase is we do the most good. We have plenty of services. If you have an idea for a way to help, we'd be happy to hear it. We're always open to new ideas and more ways to serve the community. If you've noticed something, we're always ready to hear it, and if we can make those changes, we will. Hope to see you guys.
We appreciate very much you ladies being with us this morning. And one final plea. This is not just a holiday season, but remember the Salvation Army is open 365 days a year. That means they have ongoing expenses daily. Thank you very much, Rachel and Pam.
Thank you.